The post-sleep method. If you're interested in exploring non-ordinary states, such as out-body experiences, and have been attempting a conscious projection from the waking state, you might have already discovered that trying to maintain awareness when entering into sleep is one of the most difficult methods to start with. Relaxing the body, quieting the mind, and accessing an altered state deep enough for a projection requires a lengthy preparation routine, and it's not uncommon for the first signs of vibrations to immediately disappear as soon as you notice them. I understand how frustrating this can be because of the effort spent trying to access this state. It can make projection seem impossible and give you the impression that you do not possess the capability. You have most likely been taught that you need to maintain awareness for a prolonged period while your body gradually falls asleep and walk this tightrope between consciousness and unconsciousness. I've experienced this frustration on countless occasions and easily wasted 1 to 2 hours trying to reach that perfect state. The result was only continual failure. However, there is a far easier method, a method that can bring you success in not months, but days. Personally, it is something I succeeded with unintentionally, and once I experienced it, I never looked back. I came to learn it was referred to as the dream exit-induced lucid dream. Several astral projection authors have already mentioned this approach and advised the trainee to attempt the projection not when entering sleep, but instantly after waking up from a dream. Trial will prove convincingly that, if consciousness begins to function a little too strongly, after the subconscious has effected a slight separation, on entering sleep, the phantom is more apt to coincide again than it would be in a similar condition when waking from sleep. In other words, most projections will be more successful consciously if they begin in the hypnagogic state when coming out of sleep. Sylvan Muldoon, 1929, Projection of the Astral Body. To enter the relaxation state full of energy and wakefulness is great insurance for maintaining conscious control. The best approach to take in the early attempts at the condition D exercise is to start it immediately after you wake up from a nap or a night's sleep. Start the exercise before you move around in bed physically, while your body is still relaxed from sleep and your mind is fully alert. Robert Monroe, 1971, Journeys Out of the Body. Student, you must not move when you wake up. Be motionless and practice a retrospective exercise in order to remember your internal experiences. Remember where you were, what places you visited while in the astral body, what you did, what you saw, etc. This practice must be performed daily without ever becoming weary. Samuel Onweyer, 26 Techniques for Astral Projection. Cycles of Indirect Techniques. This is a universal and most effective way to obtain a lucid dream experience. It has been refined by the OOB Research Center's work with thousands of people all over the world. The secret to indirect techniques is to perform them upon awakening, when the human brain is physiologically quite close to lucid dreaming state, or still in it. The Phase, by Michael Raduga, who has created quite possibly the most thorough and comprehensive instruction manual for this particular method. Research has shown that most of us awaken and then quickly return to sleep a number of times during the night. However, these spontaneous awakenings provide one of the most useful opportunities for entering into lucid dreams. We may learn that deliberately re-entering a dream after one of these intervals can lead to a lucid dream, but if we don't remember to do so, we will continually miss these opportunities. The clarity and stability of a mind trained in shamatha is a reliable basis for remembering to take these opportunities. B. Alan Wallace, Dreaming Yourself Awake. If you remain perfectly motionless upon waking from a lucid or non-lucid dream and deeply relax your body, there is a good chance that REM will reassert itself and you will have an opportunity to enter a lucid dream consciously. Stephen LaBerge, Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming. I just take a short little nap. 10-30 minutes might go by, and then I wake up. And as I wake up, I am aware that I'm waking up, and I hold that deeply relaxed, quiet state. And then I do a bit of energy work on my brow chakra, which triggers clairvoyance, particularly in my case, astral sight. So I start having visions and things like that. And then with an act of will, I shift into the vision. Robert Bruce, during an interview with Stephen Sinnemond, dealing with spirits, masters, angels, and other phenomena. I include these quotes from lucid dream authors for the reason that they have clearly recommended an identical approach to enter a non-physical reality, and for the fact that a lucid dream can be easily and swiftly converted into an astral projection. The reason a projection can occur quite readily after awakening from a dream can be attributed to several factors. After a sleep cycle, the physical body is naturally in a deep state of relaxation. Thus, a thorough and prolonged muscle relaxation routine at this time isn't necessary. The mind is considerably more relaxed and capable of focus soon after a sleep cycle, instead of before one. If you have attempted to induce a projection when entering sleep, you will probably know the drowsiness experienced when trying to maintain awareness on the borderland state can be overwhelming and often cause you to fall asleep, sabotaging your projection success. On the other hand, the drowsiness is significantly reduced after a natural awakening from a sleep cycle. The less drowsiness that is present, the more focus you will have. As you already know, this focus is pivotal for retaining enough awareness to both induce and remember the projection. In the moments after awakening from a sleep cycle, the momentum from the dream world you've just exited is still present to a degree and greatly helps when trying to project the astral body. This is because, during the dream state, the etheric astral body has already been active to an extent and is therefore less attached to the physical body. After awakening from a dream, the looseness and flexibility of the astral body caused by several sleep cycles can be used greatly to your advantage. The more time spent awake, the more firmly the astral body will be connected to the physical, which means the more effort required to cause an exteriorization. It would be beneficial to spend the least amount of time awake as possible. Fortunately, a fleeting, unhelpful, distracting thought in this state doesn't appear to be enough to sabotage your projection attempts. This appears to be due to the condition of the brain in the moments after an awakening, mainly its naturally deeply relaxed state following several hours of sleep, and the recent occurrence of a dream which hasn't alerted the mind too greatly to a point where it cannot regain an altered state. When trying to project entering sleep, if you have been awake for a lengthy period, such as 45 to 60 minutes, and then attempted a projection, both the physical body and mind tend to be too alert to allow a quick and easy transition. The reason it is more advisable to make your projection attempts between the hours of 5 to 7 a.m. is that sleep naturally tends to be lighter in the rapid eye movement stages. The brain is more active and able to wake up with less sloth and drowsiness, but it is also deeply rested from several hours of sleep, making it both easier to remember and execute an intention. Furthermore, during the phase of rapid eye movement, the temperature of the body drops to its lowest point during sleep. Voluntary muscles of the body, such as the arm and leg muscles, deeply relax to the point of near immobility, and a transient paralysis occurs, which is categorized as REM. This is to prevent the body from physically performing actions played out in dreams. To summarize, REM puts the sleeper in a condition with a simultaneously rested, alert brain and largely paralyzed body. In other words, the mind-awake, body-asleep state. This deepest state of physical body relaxation, which exists immediately after a dream, is what facilitates the release of the finer body. I would not claim that there is one supreme method for every individual, but if you are a frustrated beginner who has not yet succeeded, you could project very quickly if you consider this method. Before you retire to sleep, affirm either mentally or out loud that the next time I wake up, I will remain still. I will wake up consciously after my next dream, and/or the next time I wake up, I will instantly remember to attempt to astral project. Alternatively, you can affirm this throughout the day and visualize yourself succeeding in waking up and remembering your goal. Intention is the key to success with this approach, and as long as your desire is sufficient, there will be a moment when you actually wake up from a dream with your body lying still and your objective firmly in mind. Lying still isn't a prerequisite for making this method work, but it certainly helps. However, I must still stress that even if you have moved a great deal, even for as long as 60 seconds, and you believe you have remembered your intention far too late, you must still perform an exit technique. Although you may not succeed with this particular attempt, it is likely you will wake up from your next sleep cycle 1 to 2 hours later and perform an exit technique far sooner, as soon as 30 seconds in an almost automatic, involuntarily manner. It could take you by surprise. This is because you have set your intention, and it isn't very difficult to remember a recent action. Perform an exit technique with every early morning awakening from the hours of 5 to 7 a.m., whether you have moved or been awake. It is possible to project if you have been awake as long as 3 minutes before you remember to perform your technique. Every automatic and consistent repetition of exteriorization techniques will take you a step closer to achieving your goal the next time you awaken. Eventually, you will notice that you can project even if you have moved your physical body. If you have spent 3 to 4 minutes attempting to project and success hasn't been attained, simply fall back to sleep and make your attempt on either the next awakening or night. As the days pass, you'll find yourself remembering your goal earlier and earlier with each successive night. At first, upon awakening, it may take 3 minutes to remember your intention, but gradually, as each night passes, the time spent recalling your intention will rapidly start to decrease. It could reduce to 2 minutes on your third night, then down to 1 minute on your fourth night, and finally, as soon as the seventh day, you'll be remembering within 20 to 30 seconds upon awakening what you are supposed to do. In this state, you are primed for a non-physical experience. It's that state closely resembling the famed mind-awake, body-asleep condition, but this time it's something that has presented itself to you. The optimal time period to attempt a projection would be in the early morning hours, usually from 5 to 7 a.m. Once you realize this is a state you don't necessarily have to chase, but instead only to have to recognize, you will understand why the authors I have quoted recommend it. It is often advised to develop awareness when entering sleep or while dreaming, but it is not as often suggested to develop awareness upon awakening. We aren't taught to cultivate this skill, but I would like to recommend it for anyone who hasn't experienced a projection, because it is perfectly achievable to train yourself to make your projection attempt during the first 10 to 45 seconds after waking up from a sleep cycle. The window to another dimension is wide open at this time. Once you are able to wake up with a calm, focused mind, you have a number of techniques ready at your disposal. Techniques. Re-entry into the astral plane. As Samael Onweor suggested, recall the dream world you just left and imagine with all your senses that you're back in that scene. You must feel that you involved in the scene, not simply observing. You have to feel the ground you are walking on and objects you are holding with absolute conviction and belief that it is truly occurring. If you maintain this for 30 seconds, there is a high possibility that you will start to feel a shift and notice tingling sensations in your body. Once you detect this, all thoughts must be focused on that dream scene and nothing else. The success of this method depends directly on your ability to concentrate. Absolute concentration only needs to be maintained for 10 to 12 seconds before the projection is complete. Ignore any roaring sounds or peculiar sensations. Do not direct any thoughts towards the physical body or try to analyze what is occurring. My first ever wake-induced projection occurred with this method, and it was completely unintentional. I had simply woken from a pleasant dream, visualized it in my mind, wished it was still continuing, and pretended I was involved in the scene again. To my astoundment, this brief act of role-playing induced the vibration state in a matter of seconds and caused an unbelievably swift entry into the non-physical plane with full and alert awareness. If you imagine the dream scene you left and feel patchy, incomplete vibrations at any point, it is a sign that a projection is possible, and you must intensify your visualizations with all your willpower. Also, you can imagine an entirely new dream scene and still successfully transfer your consciousness to that environment. Motion, a movement involving motion such as spinning, skiing, swaying, rocking, lifting, bouncing, swimming, climbing a rope, or exploding into the sky, can cause an exteriorization of the etheric astral body. A sign that the technique of your choice is working would be a stretching feeling at the navel, almost as if your abdomen is being split in half. Observe if your physical body encounters signs of tingling, similar to a pins and needles sensation, and the chill-like sensation that washes over your body during a dreadful moment when watching a movie. If you choose to use Robert Bruce's rope method, ensure that you do not neglect to involve your other senses. such as smell. For an example, give the rope a smell of rubber. If you need some assistance, look for something in the house which smells like rubber, such as a new plastic dumbbell weight tightener. Smell this, pause, and remember the smell. You will need to recreate it for later. Including this smell of rubber can be extremely helpful in your projection attempt. Do not only feel the rough material of the rope in your hand, but also vividly feel the twisting circular pattern of the rope. Feel its braided, wave-like strands dig into your skin. To intensify this, imagine the rope leaves splinters on the upper palms of your hands as you're climbing it. When one hand grabs the rope, pull it down and actually feel your elbow bend. Then feel your elbow bend on the other arm when you reach out for the rope to take you higher. Climb the rope at a brisk pace. Pretend you are in a race with someone else, and if you find yourself losing concentration at any point, you can add counting along with your action to stop any nonsensical words entering your mind. Count 1 when you reach the left arm, then count 2 when the reach with the right arm, then count 3 when you reach with the left arm again, and then count 4 when you grab the rope with the right arm again. This counting keeps your mind focused on the task. The point of including smell, touch, and sight is to completely immerse yourself into this rope. Although the rope is imaginary, the effect it is having on your astral body is absolutely real. As you are concentrating, a sign that you applying stress on the finer body is a brief moment of feeling less solid. This might occur for only a second or two, but the sensation is similar to moving at a speed so fast your body feels as if it has become wind. Once this is felt, definitely continue with your rope climbing action. Soon, if you've maintained the action, a moment will come when the body muscles will suddenly tense up, as if they are all being clenched at the exact same time. The bed will now start to feel like it is rumbling, as if there is a small engine underneath the mattress. Do not pay any attention to these sensations. If a sensation of this kind is felt, instantly amplify the rope or whatever motion technique you are using. If you enjoy imagining you are bouncing, then feel the hard surface of your ceiling hit your scalp with every bounce. If you prefer to imagine yourself spinning while standing in one spot, feel the rush of air on your forearms and shoulders. Keep spinning and include rapid movement of the waist, which should cause it to tense up. These motion techniques can also be performed in cycles, alternating between them every 3 to 5 seconds, as Michael Raduga has suggested, or every 30 to 60 seconds, as Robert Bruce recommends in his recent interview with lifelessons.com, Part 3. There is also the option of not alternating at all. A projection is perfectly possible if you choose to use only one technique, such as climbing a rope continuously for 90 seconds until the vibration state is reached. You can always choose one technique to focus on or select a new one each day. These motion techniques might cause a feeling of sudden vertigo and the sense of your body rising up from the bed, sometimes as little as 6 inches. It may be accompanied by brief dizziness after the vibrations subside, but this will not persist. It is likely that motion techniques will result in a live projection, where you will be transported not to an unfamiliar destination, but your own bedroom, or wherever you made the projection attempt. After all the sensations and sounds have disappeared, you will sense your room, see it emerge out of a kind of mist, and feel your bed again as if nothing happened. Grogginess and heaviness will be felt, and the initial identical appearance of your bedroom can easily fool you into thinking you have failed, so the performance of a reality state check at this point is critical. The environment will feel and look so solid you will scarcely believe that you have succeeded. In the beginning, it may be necessary to perform more than one state check. The grogginess, heaviness, dizziness, and apparent solidity of the surrounding environment are all hallmarks of a classic etheric projection. The vibrations associated with this type of projection are liable to be more crude, harsh, and dramatic. Personally, I would ascribe this to the thick, solid denseness of the etheric body. I have found this vibration state similar to the rumbling felt on a train, and even the vibration that occurs when holding an active game console controller, except it would be felt throughout the entire body. Location: you can also imagine you are in your downstairs kitchen, or even bathroom. Once again, imagine that you are in your room of choice while engaging all your senses as actively as possible. For example, when you first wake up, promptly imagine that you are in your kitchen and washing a plate. If you need to improve your tactile sensing ability, rehearse this and take 5 minutes out of your day to actually run the tap water on your physical hand. Then sit down immediately and recall the sensations. Pretend that your hands are still under the tap. Remember the way you felt its cold, numbing fluid on your hands and the way your fingers felt almost glued together on impact. Take note of the way the water slides over your wrists and the ticklish feeling that accompanied it. Practice this at a point during the day without any distraction for 60 seconds. Then, if necessary, repeat the process of running the tap water on your hands, then immediately sitting down in a chair with your eyes closed, and reenact that same action in your mind. This will greatly increase your tactile sensing ability because of its relatively easy to recall a sensation you just experienced. Go back and forth with this for as many times as necessary until you can recall that sensation at will. Then, to intensify the realism of your imagination exercise, now include the smells of any aromas nearby and add the hearing the sounds that would be in that location, such as the refrigerator. You are convincing the mind that you're completely in that location. The more vividly you imagine this, the higher your chances of succeeding. Tactile sensing is usually more important than the visualization of images when using this method, so it is not an issue if your visualization skills are substandard. It appears that the further distance involved, the more pressure that will be applied on the etheric astral body. The kind of projection associated with this method appears to occur more slowly than other methods. Just maintain concentration and exclude all unrelated thoughts until the transition is complete. You will find yourself in a peculiar in-between state for some moments, where at one point you feel your normal bed, and a second later you can actually see yourself in the environment you are imagining. It is not uncommon to keep switching back and forth for 12 to 15 seconds before the process is complete. Vibration in the ears. Many authorities have stated that there exists a humming or hissing sound throughout the body, and if the trainee is quiet and relaxed enough to notice it, a projection can occur. This sound genuinely does exist, and if you prefer to avoid any techniques involving imagination or sense of movement, this technique can cause an exteriorization by simply remaining still, placing your attention on your eardrums, and blocking out all distracting thoughts. If, after waking up from a sleep cycle, you maintain absolute focus on your ears, as if trying to detect your own heartbeat, you will likely soon feel a metallic, electric-like rush of energy surge through your body, accompanied by a sizzling sound. Esotericists label it the sound of Brahma. I found it to be identical to the sound heard on the overhead train power lines. It is also not uncommon to hear a whooshing sound in the ear. Once you have detected any sound or sensation, ensure the body remains perfectly still and focus only on intensifying this sound. It will feel as if your body is rapidly starting to melt and disintegrate into dust or water, and you will find yourself in a non-physical reality. I have found this method is ideal if the projector awakens lying in a prone position. Convince your mind that this sound is the only thing that exists in the universe, and you are waiting to detect it. This mindset will help to prevent your attention from wandering. If the sound isn't detected within 1 to 3 minutes, you can fall asleep again and attempt to capture it the next time you awaken. If you are someone who works with symbols and enjoys a visualization technique that doesn't involve imagining movement, this technique could be suitable. Imagining a tarot card in the moments after waking up from a dream can be surprisingly effective and might shock you when it generates the vibrations. The image you visualize seems to take on a life of its own. Successful execution of this technique will usually result in a direct transition into the astral plane, bypassing the etheric transit area where you perceive your room, body, and local surroundings. When wide awake in the daytime, take a tarot card of your choice, for example, the World. Have a deep, intense look at this card. Notice all its properties. The red lion in the bottom right corner, the eagle above it, the red bull at the bottom left, the human face on top, and the pose which the main character holds in the middle of the card. Keep the card in your hand, close your eyes, and recreate an image of the card again in your mind. If necessary, verbally repeat the properties as a list and recreate the red lion in the bottom right corner and everything else to the best of your abilities. After 30 seconds of this, open your eyes and look at the card again. Try to observe what details you missed. Stare at the card for 20 seconds, then close your eyes again to recreate the image. Once you have been able to recall at least 80% of the card's contents with ease, and this will not take long, you will have gained enough familiarity with the card to recall its image instantly after waking up from a sleep cycle. The daytime preparation is the key to the success of this technique. When you have managed to wake up from a dream and remember your intention to project, immediately recreate the image of the tarot card in your mind. Do this whether you have moved your physical body or not. Imagine the card in as much detail as possible and visualize as a large three-dimensional doorway in front of you. Make it as real as you possibly can for only 10 to 40 seconds. Immediately picture the red lion in the bottom right part of your vision. See its eyes looking at you. Notice its mane. Observe its lines and wrinkles. Involving this much detail will give the image life. Then promptly imagine the bull in the bottom left of your vision screen. Gradually maintain these two images. One might disappear while another remains, and probably the image that remains will alternate between the two, but you must persist. It will help to trace an imaginary finger and draw the lion and then the bull. Take your imaginary finger and repeatedly use a circular motion to recreate the image. Use your finger over and over again to draw the heads of these two creatures. Repeat this until you can comfortably retain the images of just these two creates first. Ensure to keep the images in place and not allow them to drift upwards or sideways. Every time the images morph, bring them back to their proper position. With this method, you do not need extensive training in maintaining a single image in your mind without distraction for a prolonged period. As I have already emphasized, you do not need to perform a strenuous concentrations meditation session to enter an altered state deep enough where projection is possible. The state already exists as soon as you wake up. You might have been taught that before a person begins having projections, they need to maintain an image, such as a candle in their mind, as a way of mastering the basics first, and then projection can be attempted at a later stage after some experience. Once again, this is not true. You can have an astral projection very soon without extensive training in meditation. The post-sleep state is ripe with natural potentiality, and any imaginative exercise at that time can propel you so rapidly into that specific dimension as to be breathtaking. If you have done this with sincerity, the vibrations will hit you with a force, suddenness, and intensity. If you feel burning in your body, ignore this and direct all of your attention onto the image. Allow the vibrations to become as strong as they need to be without acknowledging them. The card will now rush towards you like a train, and you will actually enter into its environment. Once you have succeeded, slowly look at your surroundings. Remind yourself that you are now in your astral body on the astral plane, and affirm that you are and will remain completely emotionally calm. The tarot seems to be especially effective in the post-sleep state because of its ethereal properties. Any otherworldly image you visualize contains a current of its own, which acts like a magnet, pulling you into its realm. Combine this with the momentum of the dream world you have just exited, and the potential power of this method becomes clear. If you remember to remain still and execute a technique, the entire projection process, waking up from the dream, inducing the vibrational state, and projecting to a non-physical environment, can happen very quickly, as quickly as 30 seconds in total. You will have bypassed the lengthy preparation period that involves deliberately relaxing the body, quiescing the mind, and trying to attain the delicate balance between alertness and drowsiness. In the beginning, it is ideal for a projection to occur as quickly as possible when the mind is as fresh as possible. Do not feel discouraged if a technique is successful on one day but not the next. This is why it is beneficial to have a selection of techniques. For some unknown reason, a technique can work for 3 successive nights, but not be effective again until another month has passed. It does not mean your abilities have deteriorated or the success of the technique was due to luck. It just might be worth considering the subtle energies in the body do not remain in an identical state day after day. Learning to regularly use different techniques will also develop versatility. If you find that when making your attempts to project, you are lying there with nothing happening, despite using several exteriorization techniques. This is an indication that you haven't reached a state deep enough for a transition to occur. The very act of analyzing or checking whether you have reached that state yet in the middle of an attempt is enough to completely halt any progress. Holding the mind completely clear of any distracting thoughts for a prolonged period is challenging. It requires considerable skill and experience in meditation. Inducing a projection when entering sleep is certainly achievable after practice, but a projection from the waking state can be induced far quicker when exiting sleep, because the mind does not need to maintain absolute concentration for as long as it would be normally required with the traditional method of descending into sleep. Whereas a clear or blank mind would need to be sustained for anywhere between 3 to 10 minutes when entering sleep, this same state of mind would need to be sustained for less than 45 seconds if you chose to make an attempt immediately after a dream. The conditions that need to be met for a projection when entering sleep are possibly far too demanding for a beginner. The conditions necessary for a projection when coming out of sleep are not as exacting, and with experience, you will notice that you can project when you have moved an arm or had a distracting thought. You can quickly regain your focus and induce the vibrations. This doesn't appear to be anywhere near as easy when using the opposite approach of entering sleep. The other issue you might have already experienced is the fatigue associated with trying to induce a projection as you are entering sleep. The sheer amount of time spent quiescing the mind and relaxing the body can actually exhaust the trainee, and you may find that just at the precise moment your body was ready to project, your mind was too exhausted from all the minutes you spent descending into the state and fighting off sleep. If you have found that after several weeks you aren't succeeding in waking up and promptly executing an exit technique, begin by first improving your dream recall. Every time you wake up, just lie in your bed and recall the last scene you were involved in. Learn to do this comfortably and consistently. Write down all the dreams you have if you don't do this already. Once you have accomplished this, then progress to waking up and just simply observing the hypnopompic images that play out. Do this for several days. This is an invaluable practice because you are training the brain to wake up with intent and perform a deliberate action instead of waking up idly with an absent mind. This only needs to be performed for a few minutes. When you observe the images, take it a step further and then just manipulate the images for a few seconds. This will become easier the more often you practice. Observing images in the moments after waking is far, far easier than observing them when you are ready to fall asleep. You are not attempting to project into the images. The purpose is to become familiar with the altered state that exists after sleeping. Once you can do this comfortably for a few minutes, you can then progress to making an actual projection attempt on your next awakening. In summary, if results haven't been forthcoming, return to the basics. Wake up, lie still, and simply remember the dream you just left. Write it down. This is to cultivate the habit of waking up with a goal in mind. Then wake up, lie still, and see what images reveal themselves in your mind's eye. This is to develop the ability to recognize the twilight state that exists in the moments after awakening. Once you are waking up and remembering to perform this action, you can now set your intention to perform an exteriorization technique the next time you wake up from a sleep cycle. If you haven't succeeded after consistent, daily practice, there's always the option of using an alarm or Android app that can activate for 3 to 5 seconds and then switch off by itself. Every time you hear or feel this alarm waking you up, practice lying still, even if you moved. Soon, after using this item, you won't need it. You are just using it to develop an automatic reaction. If you are intent on experiencing a full, conscious projection from the waking state, I believe this method can help you achieve your goals. If after many attempts you haven't succeeded, you could post a detailed breakdown of the specific obstacle you face, and I would do my best to offer some help. And many posters on this forum who have already recommended this approach have also provided priceless videos, links, and tips on this method, which you might be able to find in the search option. Method summary. The objective is simple: to wake up from a dream and promptly become aware of the fact. Just before you retire to sleep, set the intention to wake up, preferably without moving, in the last 2 hours of your sleep schedule. Truly believe that at one point during the night, early morning, you will wake up and instantly aim to induce a projection. Wait for an awakening to occur between the hours of 5 to 7 a.m. Once you realize you are in bed, remember your goal, which is to enter a non-physical reality. Be aware of yourself waking up by listening to any sounds, checking if you can feel the bed, and contemplating where you are or what reality you're occupying. Instantly perform an exteriorization technique, regardless of whether you have physically moved or not. Your technique can be to either recreate the dream scene you just exited, use a motion technique, such as climbing a rope, or imagine you are immersed in another environment nearby, such as your kitchen. Either alternate the techniques or focus on just one. Be prepared for any tingling sensations, metallic-like sounds, or strange images. This is the vibration state you are about to enter. If sensations are felt, immediately intensify the technique you are using to fully establish the vibration state by involving all senses to an even greater degree. Narrow all thoughts on this single technique and nothing else for 10 to 20 seconds. After 10 to 30 seconds of being immersed in the vibration state, wait for an environment to emerge, which can be either a familiar or unfamiliar location, depending on the technique you executed. When the vibrations have ceased, perform at least one state check to confirm you have transitioned from the physical body to the non-physical body.